the Sega Mega Drive thing is just a brief touch. Also,
the
conversation should be around the headlines, right? And again, it's just
and I think at this point, VR is probably the biggest headline.
Yep.
Because it's so fresh.
Yep. Do you want me to run it, or do you want to run it there, Marty?
What?
Host.
I'll do it.
Okay. Wasn't too sure if you want to get your sea legs under you first.
I'm back in the saddle, man. I'm ready to go. I'm fired up. I've had a Mountain Dew. I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew, Chip.
Dude, Jesus. It'll kill you, man.
Ready when you are.
Okay. Oh, no. I guess it's me. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 225. No, that's not right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to oh my God.
Take 3.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 224, recorded today, April 4th, 2019. Joining me today to discuss all the Nintendo news is Mr. Marty Estes back from Mexico and Mr. Jesse Waldeck. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about VR games finally coming to the Nintendo Switch. But is it really kind of what we asked for? Plus, there are tons of rumors about an upcoming Nintendo Direct. And did Best Buy just have their own Nintendo Direct? Oh my, Best Buy, what did you do? This and so much more. Cue that music, Jesse.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 224 of Nintendo Dads. And no, you're not hearing things. I survived, and I am back from Mexico. My name is Marty Estes, and I'm joined tonight by Mr. Justin Masson and Mr. Jesse Waldeck. Justin,
yes.
How the heck are you, man? I missed you.
I'm sure you did.
I missed all of you.
All of me. Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. Yeah, it's doing well. Good to see you back. You know, the Euroboy takeover occurred, which was fantastic. And then of course John Blanco joined us last week, and it was an absolute gem to have on the show. And it was fantastic. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have you back. I have a bit of the original cast back, if you would. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Hola.
Hola.
Bienvenidos a Mexico.
Wow, look at you. Now, did you know any any Spanish before you went back down there?
Wow.
I knew lots of Mexican before I went. I knew tacos and nachos and enchiladas. Yeah. They're all delicious.
I've got
to tell this because I tried to learn some Spanish. I had some in high school and college, but I tried to like brush up on it. And so I downloaded Duolingo, right? Great little tool for iOS and Android. And for the month ahead of time, the only thing it taught me was how to have a conversation about apples. So if I can go to Mexico and I can say, ¿tú comes manzanas?
Sure.
Do you eat apples? Oh, yo como manzanas. Sí, I eat apples. And that's about it. So I knew that, and I knew baño. And you know what I didn't know about before I went to Mexico is that they apparently do something down there and they grow their bugs extra large.
Really?
Yeah, like the second day we were there was this like centipede on and I swear it looks like something that has killed me once in a nightmare. And I asked them about it, and then they're like, oh yeah, if you see those, they need to die.
Wow.
Like they need to die because they're bad and they're poisonous, and you can only kill them by concrete on concrete contact.
Oh,
like
wow.
You have to smash them with a rock.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that was where we were staying.
Oh,
totally cool.
Nice.
It was now, and I know there's people who like listen to us from outside of the United States, like you, and even Argentina, different things. I want to say this: it was such an amazing week. I loved being with the people in Mexico. Would totally go back again. Ask me how much Switch I get to play on that trip.
Yeah, how much Switch did you play? 0? One apple's worth? One apple's worth?
One.
A little.
Uno manzana. No. Like I played. We went out 2 days early because we actually drove from my location to the border.
Which is crazy.
It was 1,000 miles one way. So we didn't actually drive into Mexico. We had somebody pick us up, and they took our team over. But I played we left on a Thursday. I played that night in the hotel because I had tournament things to get done for our Patreon tournament. So I had a few things to finish up. So I played that night, and I played like one afternoon while I was there. The whole time I'm like lugging around my Switch everywhere, which totally fine, totally good. It was good. It was good. First thing I did when I got back to the States, you know what it was?
Downloaded Yoshi?
Downloaded Yoshi's Crafted World.
Nice.
Yeah. Jesse, how you doing, man? I'm sorry, I'm monopolizing.
That's all right. Yeah, I tried to throw in a quick joke. I tried to say I don't speak Spanish in French. I don't know if you heard that. Because my normal joke is I say...
how would you say that?
Je ne parle pas espagnol.
Okay.
I normally say je ne parle pas français, which is I don't speak French in French, but I decided to change it up for this.
Okay.
I love the fact that all you learned how to do is talk about apples. That's my favorite thing I think I've heard.
We also went to a restaurant on Sunday night where on the menu was it was a special part of the menu. They had something called cabeza de cabrito.
Okay.
Which is goat head.
Oh, okay.
We did not eat it.
No, okay.
No, at least I don't think we did.
What's the craziest, weirdest thing you guys have ever eaten?
Oh my gosh. The weirdest thing I've ever eaten?
Yeah.
I had authentic Romanian cabbage rolls.
Okay.
In Romania.
Oh, okay. That's awesome then. Jesse?
What about you?
Jesse, what about you?
I missed the question, sorry.
Oh, what's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I try to avoid weird things unless I really know what's in them. I can't even answer the question right now. But
he's like me. I don't eat it unless I know what's in there.
Okay. All right.
But I'll eat pretty much any sushi all day long, even though with people who are like, "Ew, I don't like any sushi." I'm like, that is not true. You just haven't had the right sushi.
Okay.
I want to know what yours is, Masson.
So we went to a fondue place out in Banff, and they have an exotic plate, and that included rattlesnake, kangaroo, crocodile, shark, and ostrich, I believe.
How was it?
The rattlesnake was weird and chewy, and that one I didn't like very much. So, but overall, it wasn't too bad. So. I mean, everything.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Exotic Food Dads.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They're like,
and Banff that's like the sound that Nightcrawler makes when he teleports, right?
Oh, get out of here!
It was low hanging fruit. I had to take it.
I know.
Speaking of low hanging fruit, there is a ton of news that has just popped up tonight as we are recording this episode, including big, huge things on the horizon for Nintendo's Labo VR, which we're going to talk about in just a second, and all kinds of other stuff as well that I'm excited to dive into with you guys this week. So let's dive right into the news, shall we?
Let's do it.
And our news is brought to us by...
Brought to us by the amazing folks over at patreon.com. So that's patreon.com/NintendoDads. And this week we actually have a new supporter, and that is the show Forget Being Cool by our friend Dave Moore and Johnny Casino. And so big thanks to those guys for giving us some support. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And of course, we are so thankful for every single person who supports us on Patreon. I want to take a kind of a quick pause here. I know we've been rambling already. For everyone who kind of listens to the show, you probably know, okay, this is always where they talk about patreon.com, support them for $1 a month. Yeah, I get it. Press forward. But I just want to tell you how really critically important that is for us and how thankful we are for that. And for everyone who's kind of listening and wondering about it, that money that we're provided every single month by our folks at patreon.com genuinely goes into help the show in every single way. Every penny of that goes and is invested into this show in a capacity. And I want to give an example of this that just people may not be aware of. A couple of weeks ago, Jesse's computer botched out on us. And so that was a big repair. And for those who don't know, Jesse's computer handles all of our work. That is where all of our sound files are. That's where he, after the show, spends an hour editing, getting everything ready. It's where he uploads everything. It is kind of the beast that holds this thing together. And unfortunately, it botched. And so when that happened, we had to kind of do some different workarounds. And Jesse ultimately had a build to try and fix pieces of that. And it wasn't the entire computer; there was some pieces within it. But we were able to the motherboard. We were able to leverage the funds that we had in our Patreon account to be able to supplement that and to allow him the ability to say, this is a cost that, you use that computer for the show to help the show run. Let's make sure that you don't have to flip that bill. That's where those go. This week, our good friend, Gary Gray, is on assignment in downtown London at EGX with Paul Lloyd, and we were able to supplement his travel and his lodging with the funding from Patreon to be able to allow him to be down there, getting interviews, meeting people, getting hands-on footage. He's actually there for 2 full days being able to do this. And so again, that's because of the support through Patreon.
Yeah.
That money that's used every single time, whether it's donations, whether it's through even the YouTube, donations that are given or Patreon, that all goes into the show. It's not, I want a new pair of shoes, Justin's buying a new pair of shoes. The commentary that we made once, the very first time the show came live on Patreon, was that every penny that is raised on Patreon goes into the show in capacity. So it's a bit of a rant here, and it's not saying you need to get on a Patreon and support us more. This is a thank you. This is a thank you to every single person that supports us. We are so thankful for that. And it really does, like I make the statement always, helps us keep the lights on and helps us keep this thing going. It legitimately does. It legitimately helps us make content in this fact that, like, without Jesse's machine, it couldn't make the content. Like we had, like it does what it says. So again, my statement,
you wouldn't be hearing our voices right now.
Yeah. So again, thank you to every single person that supports us on Patreon.
And
thank you,
Justin. Let me throw this out here too. We had another patron join since last week's show as well,
sorry.
And that is Jesus A. Mata.
Oh no, I got them
joined as well. But it was like the actual date of the show last week,
okay.
And so maybe I don't know if you mentioned him last week, but I wanted to be sure that we mentioned him as well.
Yeah, no, either way, thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate everything you guys do for us. Let's dive right into the news. Of course, the biggest news tonight that we need to talk about is that about a couple of hours ago, right before the show began,
like 2 hours ago,
Nintendo has this habit of Thursday night news. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Mm-hmm. At least they do it at 8:30 instead of 10:30.
Well, that's true. It's very much a better situation when they do it before the show than after the show, and then we have to wait a week to talk about it. Nintendo just very quietly drops a video on their Twitter, on their YouTube, social media accounts, detailing a free update that will come to both Super Mario Odyssey and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on April 25th. That will update them to support the Toy-Con VR goggles that will be released next Friday, or in a week when you hear this podcast this week. Not much info was given other than it's coming. They did show this in action. The Super Mario Odyssey DLC or update will include 3 sections or 3 kingdoms that you'll be able to play in VR. They are the Cap Kingdom, the Luncheon Kingdom, and Seaside Kingdom, in which you'll be able, they say this, bite-sized, family-friendly VR experiences. And Zelda Breath of the Wild seems like it will just turn on VR for the entire game.
Yeah.
Now, before you freak out and say, oh, I'm going to see the world through the eyes of Link, no. It appears to be that Link will be center screen, and you'll be able to turn around and look at different things as he does it. Some people say it looks like it's adding like a faux 3D effect as well. But of course, with this optimized for regular viewing, we can't really tell what's going on there. There were differences in the Mario footage. Like I noticed him doing things like carrying around a piano and, some different challenges. It looked like it definitely added, maybe even added moons to the game. But I'm not sure. It very much, the Zelda one was very much focused on being able to turn the VR option on and off in the menu, and there was little disclaimers about you don't have to start a new save file to do this, and experience Hyrule like never before, blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about this for a minute.
Yeah, with the Zelda stuff, looks like the entire gameplay, the playable parts of the game will be in the VR. but pre-rendered cutscenes will still be pre-rendered cutscenes.
Yes, I'm
There's
glad
no
you
changes
mentioned that.
to that.
There was a disclaimer there at the bottom that said pre-rendered cutscenes not available in VR. So let's talk about this for a minute, because for me, somebody that I didn't even buy the Toy-Con 3, the vehicle kit, this just went from meh, it'll be cool, I might pick it up on clearance, to I'm buying this next Friday.
Yeah,
Because of this.
I didn't buy any Labo yet. Ever since Labo VR was announced, I was kind of on the fence, thinking this might be interesting, but I'm not sure yet. This put me over the top. I have it on pre-order.
Yeah. Awesome. Are you getting the full kit, or are you just getting the starter?
I ordered the full kit. I don't think Amazon had the half kit, so I just got the full kit.
Okay. As someone who has not tried Labo yet, I'm interested to see your. Well, I mean, you've gotten like the little arcade thing that Nyko did
behind me somewhere.
I'm waiting for the actual impressions of this. Justin, what about you? I mean, like, does this spark interest? Do you think this is what Nintendo needed to do, or why announce it before release? Why not wait till it had come out? There's lots to talk about here.
Yes, there's a ton to talk about. I think first, I told you so. Second,
why do you have to do that every time?
Because it hurts to be right, Marty. It hurts. It hurts so much.
To be right.
I have no problem with being right.
I think what Nintendo did I think this was very smart, and I think you could kind of see the writing of this coming a little, like they almost kind of pre-mailed this, because they have the starter set, which is I think like it's $35. It's a cheaper. It includes the goggles, right, and then like one little thing as opposed to the major big set. So they were already putting that point of entry lower. So that was my first clue that something was going to happen. But then I think, like, to your point, the moment they said, Odyssey or Zelda, now you have now gone to those hardcore fans who are like, now I definitely want to try this. I want to see how this incorporates. I want to see the experience better or different because you've now used the two biggest franchise I know. I think that's going to be very interesting. I think there are definitely some questions that I'm wondering about. I see some things in the chat here of like, how are we actually going to end up playing it? Because like I'm supposed to hold it I'm supposed to hold it with my hands so don't drop it, and then I'm supposed to play it with the Joy-Con the Pro controller, or am I using some buttons on the left or right hand side? So there's some like actual dynamic playing that I'm a little bit confused about.
I think that was my concern when we last talked about Labo VR is how am I going to be able to play long experience games with a system I have to manually hold to my face?
Yeah. I think the other thing that I really like that Nintendo has been doing with VR is it has been these nice little subtle integrations in, right? So Mario Kart's a great example, right? So we built a kit. This is a great idea to use Labo. Let's integrate or add it in some way, just a little bit, right? You don't need to have it, but it adds a different experience. So I think that's a really smart approach, but I think it does exactly what Nintendo wants it to do, which is to take people who were like, no, I'm not going to get Labo, or Labo's not for me. It's for the 8-year-old kids. And now it triggers them to purchase it, which is bottom line good for them financially, right? And so, Jesse, you're a great example, right? I wasn't interested, but now you're giving me Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. Now I want to play. Now I'm interested. So what you're doing is you're tapping into another market that may not have originally got or was burnt off of the first Labo kits when they kind of bought it, and now you're kind of re-going into that. So I think it's a very interesting move. The thing that does kind of interest me about it, and maybe I'm just reading the tea leaves, so to say, is why is the update on April 25th? The kit is released on the 12th. Why is it 2 weeks later for that update?
Well, and other things are going on April 25th too. So I think that
it just feels like we're moving towards something.
What else is April 25th?
Well, April 25th is also when the Persona 5S reveal is, which is the rumor is that's the Switch reveal.
Right.
Right.
I can't see that having anything to do with VR.
No, either can I. But maybe it's also announcement.
It's also rumored when Joker will be live.
Correct.
Related.
Right.
So
here's why I think they're doing it on the 25th, Justin. And I'm going to put my business hat on. for
Sure.
just a minute. I think that
Which looks like a sombrero,
it
interestingly
does
enough.
look like a sombrero. I did buy a Mexican wrestler mask for my son while I was down there.
Okay.
Luchador?
Yeah, luchador. Yeah, luchador mask. Here's what I think. When Labo first came out and it first hit, there was that initial impact, and everybody was excited about it, and people rushed out and got it and everything. And then whether Nintendo wants to admit this or not, or whether anybody wants to admit this or not, Labo, as a cool concept, yes, but it cooled off relatively quickly, right? So this may be Nintendo's strategy as kind of like a second strike, right? Like the kit's out, it's in the wild. Okay, then the newness of it is worn off. All the early adopters have bought it. Oh, now there's an update for some pretty popular games.
Mm-hmm.
So now there'll be a second sell, like a second wave of hot sells, possibly.
Yep.
Like I can just see it to kind of keep the momentum steamrolling. And then if they said, like, here's another potential scenario. Okay, this is out on April 25th. On May the 11th or May the 10th, whenever that is, May the 9th, it's whatever Friday that is, an update will come out for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in VR.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already seen them support Mario Kart with VR, right?
Yep.
And it would be very easy to use this. And I don't necessarily know how it would work, but they've already got the steering wheel. They've already got all of that, whatever.
I wonder if, even as I mean, we're obviously guessing about like how long these games are.
Well, that's what we do, though.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's exactly like, I mean, that's why we have people here, right? To listen to the three idiots talk about this stuff, right? But I do wonder if this might actually, like, how much are they opening up this idea of dev support for this VR kit? So what I'm saying by that is, could we see an indie shop, like, let's say, I think Zoink Games has a VR game out. They're putting out recently, Ghost, I believe, something. Correct me if I'm wrong. People may know it. Throw it in the chat if I'm wrong here, or whatever it is. That maybe they can go to Nintendo and say, we've got a VR game and we'd like to put it on VR Labo. Ghost Giant, thank you. Can we do that? Right. So I wonder how exclusive Nintendo is going to be about this idea of their VR capacity when you need something like Labo. So
it's very accessible, right? I mean, like you said, there's a $40 price point. It's very accessible, and all of a sudden, instead of having to buy this huge, clunky, gigantic PSVR setup that's $200 or $300 that some people paid, you've got a $40 piece of cardboard, and people can make as immersive VR as they want to. Now, again, I come back to what Jesse's concern was earlier about the fact that as soon as the Breath of the Wild news dropped, it was like, well, am I going to be sitting there holding it like this and playing Breath of the Wild,
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to do that? Because it doesn't attach to anything else.
Yeah, and there have been some hands-on impressions. I think Nintendo Life ran one a couple weeks ago. I think they brought some people over. They did not, unfortunately, invite us over for the UK hands-on testing of it. That's okay, though. And I know that I think Game Explain got some hands-on with it as well. And it actually sounds like the controls are kind of around where you'd have your power button and your sound buttons on just the tablet section of it. Sounds like they've made some functionality there that you can tap and press things. So it sounds like there may be something there. It doesn't require, obviously, a Pro Controller or using the actual Switch,
right?
Joy-Cons attached. So it'll be very,
it doesn't
very
attach to your face. That's the
no,
point
exactly.
Like there's no strap, there's no harness.
Or for all we know, like they just haven't advertised the strap or harness and haven't let anyone know about it.
They probably don't want to put it on a tripod because that'll look like another system that they didn't go so well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I very much cannot see them putting it on a tripod.
I think it would be very interesting to see the sales rate of this. I bet you're going to have a lot of people who are just buying that base system. I think it was, like I said, for $35 or whatever it is. Here we go. Yes, thank you, Mr. Vac. I appreciate that. I had hands-on with Nintendo with Labo VR. You should check out my recap on my channel. You know what we're going to do, Mr. Vac? I'm actually going to grab that right now, and I'm going to tweet that out for everybody to be able to watch as well, because I think that's going to be important. So I'll grab that right now. Mr. Vaca, thank you very much for that. We greatly appreciate it. Exclusive
deal.
first look. Appreciate it.
Here's what we know is we know that this has the Breath of the Wild effect, right? Like there are two people on this podcast who are now saying, and I'm counting two. I'm one of these. I have now gone and pre-ordered the VR kit on Amazon, just like Jesse did. I'm getting this day one. Like I just like here's where Nintendo on this I see there is risk versus reward here, right? Mm-hmm. Like the risk is let's put it out and let's pump it up with these two games that have been hugely popular, two of our best selling games for the Switch. It's kind of a slam dunk. The reward is a lot of sales, right? But the risk is also if they put this out and it ends up being really disappointing or really bad quality, mm-hmm. then they're never going to hear the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about. And I don't worry too much about this fictional company that we love, I think, sometimes. But Nintendo just continues to prove us wrong or prove me wrong a lot. But I think they're just like cautious is my word here. Cautiously optimistic. Like it's kind of wading into some murky territory because I don't expect much with Switch VR. And I don't even know, like that. Did that happen the week that I wasn't on the show? Did that happen 2 weeks ago? I don't know that we. I think so. Maybe we talked. I think maybe we talked about it when the announcement came out, but we hadn't seen any games,
right?
Yet, or we hadn't seen any gameplay footage. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, like I hope the other games are good, right? Mm-hmm. Because I don't know exactly how much I'll use it for Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, but my son was really excited about it.
Uh-huh.
And he'll probably use it. I mean, just being honest, he'll probably use it more than I will. But the fact that they're fiddling with it and it could come to other games makes me happy.
I think this is, again, we're going to move on pretty quick here to our next topic.
Yeah.
But it's, I think when people saw Labo and, Nintendo has never given us, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, has never given any official numbers for Labo and how it actually performed. They've been pretty quiet about that. But then obviously we saw a couple weeks ago, we saw the big kind of blowout sale at Target where Labo was super cheap. So kind of like that writing makes you think, oh, maybe it's not doing, really well. And then obviously they come back now with this kind of unbundled version that's more price accessible, right? And then you're adding these values into it. Plus the fact is, and Mr. Batka is kind of saying it here as well, the relationship that Nintendo has had recently with schools all across America, getting it into their programs and getting hands-on through STEM, right? They're really approaching that. This is not I don't think Labo is something that's going to just disappear. I think Nintendo has vested a lot of time and energy in it. I think it's one of those. It's very much Nintendo being a toy maker again, right? And I think and the magic of the toy, right? Because like we still bust out our Labo kits here and play with them and build them, and it's such an amazing thing. We love it. And I think if you're a family, they're fantastic, right? Now, if you're a 25-year-old man who's like, it's not for me, this is stupid. Well, yeah, it's not for you.
Yeah,
right.
The Labo VR is not for like Nintendo fanboy collectors.
Yeah. Where's my Mother 3 and my Labo set? I didn't ask for that. Get out of here, you guys. Come on.
Another possibility with the whole Target thing is maybe Target didn't, because that happened after the Labo VR got announced. It might be possible that it didn't want to allocate more space, so they're going to reuse that existing space and get rid of the old stock to get the new stock in.
Oh, I completely agree with that. I mean, the same Labo kits that released in April last year are the same ones that are still sitting at my Walmart. So they have a thin layer of dust over the top of them.
So again, I do think it'll be interesting to see if, and sorry, I want to come back to this. I do think it'll be interesting if Nintendo allows for a developer to develop games for the Nintendo VR Labo.
Yeah.
And puts that on their eShop for them to purchase. That will be an interesting place to be.
So if you could get one game that is currently released now, and let's just keep it to first party. Okay, one first party game. No, let's not keep it. Let's not.
The first game I've got in my head.
Go ahead. If you could get one game to get a VR update, what is it, Jesse?
Octopath Traveler. That's already pseudo 3D anyway. If that can actually pop into real 3D, that would be amazing.
Okay.
You know what the next 3D game? Oh my gosh! You know what the VR game is going to be? It's going to be Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
I can see that.
That would be, yeah, that would be a really good one.
Is the 3DS version
Is that your
in 3D?
pick?
I don't know. I don't know if that's my pick. I think the other one they could do is Splatoon.
Is
Like,
the
could you-
3DS
could you-
version in 3D?
I don't think the 3DS version's in 3D because I think that was when they stopped doing 3D on the 3DS.
Because if they did, they'd already
Uh,
have the data on how to split the sides.
Justin,
But
the Splatoon thing I think is genius because you already have the blaster.
Yeah, yeah. I think like that. I think when you think like think of the way I approach it is think of a world that a kid or a young child would want to be immersed in, right? I think something that's full of paint and inklings and that kind of stuff.
I was thinking,
and then
Pokemon.
And then so that's why I think I don't know if Pokemon would do it, maybe. And then I think Captain Toad because of that. And then I think the other one, spoiler alert, and maybe in the end I may eventually be wrong, is Yoshi's Crafted World. Segue. But nonetheless.
No. Hey, and by the way, before we get Labo was reported in January of this year to have only sold around 1.39 million units since launch.
Okay.
But
yeah, I mean,
not
that wasn't
setting the world on fire, but those are the same numbers that ARMS sold, and people called it a success. So
yeah, well,
there you go.
Third strongest mole wants to see Pikmin in VR.
Oh yeah.
Well, just want to see Pikmin. Period. Right. Let's move on. Let's talk about some more Nintendo news before we get into some other game announcements and releases. April 2019 NES games were announced this week, and Nintendo of America remembered that we get 3 games every month. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! This next month's offerings will be available on April 10th, and will include Star Soldier. It will also include the highly requested Punch-Out!, though it will not be the Mike Tyson version. It will be the version that features Mr. Dream. And honestly, if you're out there and you're salty about that, did you really think we were getting the Mike Tyson version? Really?
There's a reason that the Mr. Dream version was created in the first place, and any future virtual console release of the game has always been the Mr. Dream version.
Yeah. I think this is kind of like the surprise entry of the 3. We will be getting Super Mario Brothers 2, also known as Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels, in all regions, which is pretty cool. I'm predicting with this we also get an SP version of Punch-Out!.
I can see that happening in the future. I don't think we'll see them both in the same month.
Yeah, no, the SP version will be one from.
Then?
Yeah, it'll be one from last month. That's how this thing usually works, right?
Think, I want to throw this over to Jesse because I know Nintendo did mention that we will eventually stop getting NES games. They actually took time to mention that this week. Do you think what are the?
That, okay.
It was like today. It was this evening. Do you think that? What do you think our chances are of getting Dragon Warrior?
Probably little, but that would be a game I'd like to see.
Well, I knew that's was the reason I asked you, is because I knew you'd be very interested in it.
Yeah, because I last time I replayed that was probably 10 years ago, and I'm ready to try to play it again.
The thing is that we're now like at the point that we're coming to with these releases. Nintendo is kind of beginning to wear a little thin on their first party releases. If the more well-known ones, I'm wondering if we will see more third party. We've seen a couple of Konami games, yet we've seen 0 Castlevania games. We've seen 0 Mega Man games.
Not surprising because of their respective collections.
Right. I mean, I get it. It's business. They want to sell those collections, but besides Gradius, we've really not seen any more Konami games. I really just wish that they would be able to pull out some of the more obscure stuff, I guess, eventually, like Dragon Warrior, like some of those. What I'm really hoping eventually is that we get the NES version of Tetris, but we're probably never going to get it because of Tetris 99.
Right.
And, you know, God, I wish I had downloaded the Game Boy version of Tetris before they took it off the eShop, but I never thought that would happen. Anyway, those are coming out April the 10th. There'll be a little update to the NES app, and then you'll get your games. And I would imagine we're going to get, I'm going to say we're going to get 4, and then we'll end up getting 5 because they've been doing a couple of SP releases every month anyway. But so 4 to 5. That way I'm right, and I can come on and be all smug like Justin next week.
Ibisof's putting a bunch of suggestions in the chat, but they're all licensing games, so those will probably never happen.
What would probably be easier to do with this Netflix is to make a list of games that you will never see because of licensing.
Yeah,
there will be many, many, many games, some of which you love, and I'm sorry, you'll never see them. So that's the way it is. Let's move on. I noticed this right before we begin to record tonight. Ubisoft has announced that there will not be any further physical toy releases for Starlink Battle for Atlas, citing sales that are below expectation. Mm-hmm. However, they did announce that new modes, new pilots, new ships will all be released digitally and be available in the game for you to either find, and I would probably say purchase as well. Yeah. As well as the new mode, Outlaw Racing, which, by the way, folks, there's your Star Fox Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
Misdirection is a heck of a drug. Right? How do you feel about this? Because I was kind of hoping to ask this to Gary. Now that I know he's at EGX, he won't be able to answer. But I think Gary has every Starlink toy, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and we had one of our amazing fans actually mail him, I think, one of the characters he was looking for.
Startail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you make of this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is shocking, right? I think that the story that we hear of Starlink, and this was the story from kind of off the hop, was the game is fundamentally good. Like, if you have the game, it's a fun game to play. It's really well done. I think Ubisoft did great care with the IP, with Star Fox. It's engaging. It's really good, actually. But what I heard from so many people was, but I don't want the toys. And it's bundled in, and so I think what happened here is I think Ubisoft saw what happened with Mario Rabbids, right? And so when they released that game, but you were able to buy those toys separately. You could buy the figures if you want. They had no value in the game, and I think Ubisoft saw an opportunity here to try and make additional money off of the back of Labo and on the back of kind of goodwill of the work that Ubisoft had done the year before with Mario and Rabbids. And got them in a situation where they've invested a lot of money into the toy franchise part of it, and really was not making the money off it, right? You were able to very quickly buy the kits for almost 75% off. We've seen that sale post on Twitter so many times, and the reality is that they had vested money into that and they needed to move that stock. The reason that game has been discounted so much, it's not because it's a bad game. It's not because it's a horrible game. It's not because you're not having fun. It's because it was bundled in with the toys and they needed to make their money back as quick as possible, and they were losing funds, so they had to actually cut the prices. And therefore, for them to make this statement of like, hey, it's below expectations, this isn't a shock. I'm going to be very honest with you. And I think that was the story that this game got itself into, is what is it? Is it a Toys to Life game or is it a game? And I think that's where we got
a point there. Let me interject and say this. I think that this was a very good game that got overshadowed by very badly marketed toys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of people who missed this game, right? Because they were like, I don't want to do Skylanders again.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly
and they missed out on a really cool opportunity at, quite frankly, the best Star Fox game since Star Fox 64.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally get why they did it, because who doesn't want that sweet toy money, right?
Yeah.
But now Ubisoft has warehouses full of ships and pilots and all kinds of other stuff it can't shift.
Yep.
And it's going to end up in dirt cheap stores and everything on down the line, it sucks because the toys are actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, they're actually the R-Wing is great. After I bought the R-Wing, look, 99% of the people who bought this game, what did they say? I just want the R-Wing.
Yeah, and I think this is the other thing. And I was reading here through some of the chats here. Someone says it's still in the box. I think this is a game that this is probably one of the most passed over games probably of 2018. And if you're able to get it on sale right now, whether it's going down to your local Best Buy or Target or whatever, and it's for 20, the game itself is definitely worth more than 20, and you're getting a toy in there. So pick that up if you want. But I do think that their stomachs were bigger than their eyes, so to say, and I think that the marketing confusion got twisted around in this, and unfortunately it strangled it a little bit. Now I'm really happy that they're still doing updates for it. Sure. Right, they're doing exclusive Nintendo updates for it, which is great. They're introducing new characters. I love what Ubisoft is doing with the franchise, but I think that this game will always be associated with kind of a failed Toys to Life market.
Which is sad because it's not a failure of a game.
No.
It would be one thing if the game sucked and it wasn't worth even talking about. We could say, all right, good riddance. It's all a pile of rubbish. Get rid of it. But it's one of those things that people are going to look back on in a few years and go, man, you remember Starlink? Oh, yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And why didn't we finish it? Why didn't we? Well, because
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'll be honest, like, so when and again, full transparency, Ubisoft sent us a demo for it, or a full kit for it, right, a full box. The R-Wing is up in my office on the Joy-Con base beside my Amiibos, and the game is downstairs beside my console. And I never play with the R-Wing base. I never have, but it's a great R-Wing up in my collection of stuff, and I just have the game on the cartridge, and I pop it in when I want to, and I play in handheld or dock. That's how I play, and you know what? Doesn't change my experience at all, and it's pretty amazing.
And you take a look at it too, and when even Nintendo is slowing down on toys as far as like its Amiibo releases, I know that there's quite a few that have, we're ramping up a little bit more because of Smash. But before Smash came out and they began to finish out the Smash line, they weren't really releasing toys as frequently as they had before either. It's one of those things, the bubble burst, let it lie for a while. To me, Starlink, even when it was first announced, I was like, that's an idea that's been cooking for a while.
Yeah.
Like it may have been a Wii U idea and now it's moved to Switch.
Yeah.
Because of timing, but like you said, I'm glad that we're still getting updates for it. And speaking of updates, let's talk about a couple of game announcements and things that have popped up since last show. Atlus's website ps5s.jp was updated to show that more info will be available on April 25th. And Jesse has typed here for the Switch version of Persona 5. It does not say anything about the Switch version.
That is the expectation, because they already announced the PS4 update. So why would they have a remake, enhanced version, whatever you want to call it? Why would they have a second version?
I get it.
So close on the same system.
I get it. I just don't want to.
I agree. I jumped the gun on that, but if it's not the Switch, I'll be surprised.
All the rumors are pointing towards it.
Yeah,
for sure.
and right. It's funny that it falls in the month that Nintendo has said that the newest DLC character, Joker, will be available for Smash.
Mm-hmm.
So and they did say, if you remember back to that Direct when it was announced, by the end of April.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever Nintendo says the end of April, you might as well guess the last week.
Yeah,
because they did it for Miitomo. They did it for everything. And with Miitomo, it was like the last day of the month. So that's out there. Adding fuel to the fire, we can kind of talk about this and then circle back around to it when we get to our rumor section. But Best Buy leaked Persona 5 for the Switch. It was in their point of sale system. It's now been removed, and probably somebody got fired because of it. So don't laugh about that part. It's just the situation as a whole. But we're probably most likely definitely getting Persona 5 for the Switch, and then I'll finally play it. It would be awesome. See what the hype about this Joker guy is about. Also announced Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games is coming.
This happened like a day after we talked about it last week. It was brought up as a question.
Yeah, the Switch version will be released in the winter of this year, and an arcade version will be released in 2020 in addition to a mobile game, which is interesting, on Mario and Sonic Olympic mobile game. Also on the docket coming up very soon, Jackbox Party Pack 6 has already been announced, releasing this fall with finally, yes, Trivia Murder Party 2 has been announced as the first game in which the serial killer Saw-like guy takes over his family's murder hotel. That's the setting for the game. He actually calls it a murder hotel. It was a brilliant trailer if you haven't seen it.
And he spends a lot of his budget on cleaning.
Yeah. You need to go check that out. Final little headline here. Sega is hopping on the classics bandwagon. This will surely interest some of you who grew up in the 90s, like I did. The Genesis Mini or Mega Drive Mini, depending on your region, is coming September 19th. It will have 40 games installed at the beginning, including here. This is just the U.S. list: Altered Beast, Castlevania Bloodlines, which is pretty interesting, Comic Zone, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Gunstar Heroes Shining Force, Sonic the Hedgehog Space Harrier 2, and Toe Jam and Earl. The same developer that has been behind the Sega Ages line of games, M2, they are handling the development of the software for this game. A couple of little interesting points to hit. Different regions will have different games. For instance, the Japanese version will have the U.S., European Union, and European and Japanese versions of Castlevania Bloodlines. Also, the Japanese version will come with a 6-button controller, while the U.S. will come with a 3-button controller. I don't understand why they're doing that.
Neither do I.
And Japan will have 2 SKUs. You get 1 controller with the system for $60 and 2 controllers with the system for $80. The U.S. version will only have the $80 SKU, and I'm assuming that means you get 2 controllers with it, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, that would have been unfair if you didn't. No European version SKUs.
I think they announced later, or at least it was said through. I think GameXplain said that the EU versions are just matching the US versions.
Okay. All right. So only the Japanese version will have the 6-button controller, which is extremely strange. But hey, that just means they'll sell them separately for $20 and make even more money because you want that 6-button controller, right?
Right.
Well, guys, that's pretty much it for our news. Let's move into talking about some rumors. I'm going to pin this one directly on Mr. Justin Masson. You have started this craziness that a Nintendo Direct is coming next week.
Yes. Yeah.
So kind of dive in and explain why you would even start stirring this pot.
Well, here's the reason. We actually had someone jump out to us on Twitter and actually send us some screenshots. I think it was a Reddit post of a leak that there was indeed a Nintendo Direct coming next week. And they sent us and again, you look at all leaks with a little vein of skepticism, right? And you never know. And it's fine. So they actually sent us basically the script of what was going to happen. So I want to take a little bit of time and break it down because I do believe legitimately that there is going to be a Nintendo Direct at some point in the month of April. I did post out a video on our YouTube channel. If you haven't had a chance, go check that out of kind of my breaking it down. But Nintendo has some opportunities for us to engage or to tell us a bit of a story here of what's going on. So first and foremost, the reason that next week is the rumored Direct, and specifically on April 11th, is the fact that it is Reggie's very last Nintendo Direct before his retirement. So it kind of gives him an opportunity to say thank you very much for the time and energy. And then, I can break down actually, and again, I guess here's what the thing is. I will say, spoiler, I'm going to break down what this, in a very high level, spoiler, what this direct leak is. It's about 35 minutes. It's going to occur on the 11th, and a large section of it's going to be on Mario Maker 2. They're actually going to start off with a reveal of Tamagotchi Tamagotchi World, and it's going to be set coming out in the fall. They are then going to transition over to telling us that there's going to be first of 3 free DLC packs for Super Mario Party, which includes 2 new boards and 3 new characters, and the update's going to be on May 3rd. I believe that this is probably accurate due to the fact that Mario Party is probably needing some DLC updates, free DLC, and we know that Nintendo's president says that that's what they want to do. SNES Online is revealed. So again, we've known that SNES Online is coming soon-ish. We just don't know when, whether it's May or E3. We know it's out there. It's going to arrive eventually. It's going to have its own app. So just like the Nintendo currently one does, they're going to show off some upcoming games such as Cuphead to remind us to pick it up. They're going to show off Box Boy and Box Girl. They then mentioned that potentially Pikmin 3 is being ported to the Switch. I don't believe that, to be honest. I don't believe at this point it is, and we don't have any information of it. They said that'd be revealed or released on May 31st. I don't think that's a true statement. We then bust into a large portion of the Direct, which was about 8 minutes, which is devoted to Mario Maker. And here's where I believe that this is probably true. Nintendo traditionally, about 2 months before their June game, take a Direct and they blow out some more information and some more kind of get you hyped about it. They did this last year for Mario Tennis, and I think they are going to do that here. Because if you remember, Super Mario Maker is scheduled to release the same month as E3. I think the date's either the 14th or 21st. They're not going to spend the time at E3 to hype you about this game. They want you to be hyped before you get to E3 and you've already purchased it or have it pre-ordered. So they need to use a Direct to spend that time and energy to give you more information about it and show off more and more portion of it. They may not reveal everything, but they'll get you enough excited to that, yeah, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to pre-order it. You've told me the story I need to know. They also mentioned that there is going to be the release date is the 14th, and that there is a Joy-Con bundle that is yellow and red. So that'll be interesting. And again, we haven't seen any Joy-Con bundles yet this year, so that's not a bad idea. And I could see that coming together very much similar to the way they did Mario Party. We get a first glance at Luigi's 3 and includes the name Tomb Service, and we get a release date of October, or a release window of October. And then the one thing that kind of I think really validates this a lot more is then we actually get information about the Smash 3.0 update. And they reveal that Stage Builder is back and the Home Run Contest is back, and they're going to tease some more modes are coming in the future. We also get a full trailer for Joker with a release date of actually April 12th, and that we are told to basically stay tuned for the next E3, where they're going to reveal more fighters at E3. What then happens is we get some information that Untitled Goose Game is now called Titled Goose Game. I'm not really sure about that one. I believe that one might be false. Basically comes back to Reggie saying we've got one more thing to reveal, and he reveals Animal Crossing's first look at the game, and then it fades away. And as it fades away, kind of a couple moments here, voiceover, and Doug Bowser actually comes out and introduces himself, and then basically reveals that they have a Switch version of Earthbound Remastered Trilogy. Now, I believe that is false.
False.
I believe that's absolutely false, that statement there. But I do believe that but I think that the statement around it is that I believe there is a Direct coming this month. I also believe that they are going to tell us about Smash 3.0 update. I believe they're going to use some time to hype up Super Mario Maker. And I believe that Reggie may have a final goodbye. All of those things kind of make me think there's something occurring. I think something now, whether any of this is true or only some of it's true or none of it's true, I think that we are going to get a Direct in April.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, this is all the rumor. This is rumor camp, folks. Rumor camp.
And hey, segue that into this Spanish retailer thing. You know, you were talking about how they usually have a Direct that they kind of blow out some information about their June game. Yep. It's going to be by the time you get to E3, it's going to be too late to talk about Mario Maker 2, right? Because it's coming in June. Yep. So a Spanish retailer actually has in-store displays that are. It's not just like something they've printed. It's actual Mario Maker printed in-store displays that are showing a June 21st release date for Super Mario Maker.
Yeah.
So if you're keeping score here, June 21st is a Friday, right?
Yep. Yep.
June 21st is a Friday.
So is June 14th.
Right. Well, thank you for being able to do basic math there.
I think either of those are viable options. Either the 14th or 21st.
I can see it coming on the 21st, so they can at least maybe slip one last little detail in at E3.
Yeah, that's possible.
Maybe
it'll be a light touch though.
Yeah, I have a feeling. This is going to be the game that people will look for when they're at E3, when they see other people playing games on their Switch. Similar to like when I was at E3 in 2011, it was the Ocarina of Time 3D. Yeah, that came out around the same time, like a week or two after E3, but the reviewers had their codes, so we can see when the people were playing 3D if we were friends. We're like,
okay, so
dang you.
Now that we know that Nintendo's 2019 is firming up a little bit, 3 years ago it was Breath of the Wild. 2 years ago it was Mario Odyssey. Last year it was Smash. What is their E3 game? Make your prediction now. What is the set? What is the set piece game?
I can't think of any other. We know it's not Metroid.
No.
Probably not Pokemon.
No,
I doubt it.
Trying to think what else was coming out.
I think it's going to have to be Animal Crossing.
I think it's going to be Animal Crossing.
I think it's either Animal Crossing or they do a shared stage where it's half is Animal Crossing, half is Luigi's Mansion.
I can see that. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's the thing about Animal Crossing is that it would be the ideas for that are so, I think, would be more plentiful. I mean, they would miss an opportunity to like set up their booth as like the town, right? Like you have the mayor's office, you have your house, you have all those different things.
Have a 5-foot tall Tom Nook you can take a picture with.
Yeah, and every time you take a picture with him, he just steals your wallet.
Yeah,
and makes you pay to get it back. I don't know. I think it has to be Animal Crossing because that's like the biggest question mark, big name game that we have for the rest of the year, right? Well, besides Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Those two are kind of floating out there nebulous.
Exactly. Shellshock Prime asks, if you think there's a Nintendo Direct this month, do you think we'll focus on the 3.0 update and Mario Maker 2? Absolutely. Yeah. So Shellshock, yeah. I do predict there will absolutely be a Nintendo Direct in the month of April. And I'm willing to take a bet on that if anyone wants to bet me on that.
No, I'm not betting anything else.
I didn't think you would.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit. I want to circle back around because somebody mentioned Metroid Prime.
That was in the leak from Best Buy.
Well, no, it was mentioned Metroid Prime would not be at E3, right? But Best Buy did leak Persona 5 this week. And then right after that, also leaked two other games for the Switch. Metroid Prime Trilogy, which has been speculated on for months, right? Years, very likely it could be at least teased and or shown or shadow dropped at E3. The other one is, and I don't even know where to go with this one, A Link to the Past.
Yeah, that confused me.
And I saw that, and the first thing I said was, what?
Because if they choose to re-release that, I don't think that would be physical. So I think that would be digital only.
Here's
that's
the
why
thing.
I'm confused.
The crazy thing about this is some people initially thought that it was a mislabel for Link's Awakening. It is not. Link's Awakening is already in Best Buy's system.
Right. Still, it could be someone still confused and added it thinking it was that anyway, not knowing it was in the first time.
It could be. But, where there's smoke, there's fire, and both of those listings are gone as well as the Persona listing.
Right. As well as the employee.
Right. So, which lends to all the jokes you may have seen on Twitter this week that Best Buy had its own direct. Uh, it just didn't invite Nintendo. How likely is it that we're going to get 2 Zelda remakes in 1 year?
Well, I think you've got 2 Zelda remakes and then an indie Zelda game. Because there was a rumor that there was 2 Zelda games coming to the Switch this year.
Sure.
It was a light rumor, but I don't think this is right, because then it's a complete counter against why are you releasing the SNES Online that has Link to the Past in there as well.
What if it's just a listing for that?
Well, that would be dumb. Why would you
dumb.
Just list the one game? Now the other thing is, what if it's a Link to the Past 2? What if it's a sequel?
A Link to the More Past.
Yeah, a Link to More Past.
A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
But didn't we already have a sequel to that?
Well, what if you have a sequel to a sequel? I don't know.
Link Between Worlds?
But not really. I don't know. I'm hyped to see what it's about, though, because Link to the Past is like my second favorite Zelda game in the whole thing, with Wind Waker being the first. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see if it's true, or it could just be like IGN's Direct this week. Everything is coming to the Switch.
Yeah,
everything.
Exactly.
With lots of snaps.
Lots of snaps.
Yeah. Let's talk about some events coming up, shall we?
Do it.
All right, we're just going to hit these pretty quick. For those of you who are still playing Mario Tennis Aces, as of April, KMEC has been added. If you just go online and play a tournament, you don't even have to win. Just play the tournament, and you'll be able to get KMEC and add him to the roster, the ever-growing roster of characters there. I think we're coming up on the end of those, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so.
I think there's maybe 2 more, maybe 1 more.
Chat, keep me honest. I thought they said they were supporting it till June. Now they've only revealed 3, but I think they said they're supporting all the way till June.
Yeah, I think like Dry Bones is still gotta be entered. Maybe I missed him. I don't know. Some months I'm good about getting the characters. Like I booted it up today to go get K-Mac, and it was like Pauline's been added. I was like, oh yeah, I missed her. Miss Pauline. How could I have done that? I played this much Mario Tennis Aces recently.
It's a great game.
It is a great game. It got better with age, like a fine wine or cheese. Also, Pokemon Go has some events coming up. They've kind of been proactive and gone ahead and listed a lot of dates here out front. The first one is Pokemon Go Fest has been scheduled. It will be in Chicago, June 13th through the 16th. It will be in Dortmund, Germany, July 4th through the 7th, and the Asia Pacific region is to be determined. During these events, usually depending on the number of tasks players complete, there will be rewards. We don't know about any of those yet, but we'll be sure to talk about them when the time comes. And Community Day dates have been announced throughout the summer. May 19th, June 8th, July 21st, and August 3rd. Pokemon featured at these Community Days will be announced closer to their respective dates. So here's what we know. Too long, didn't listen. Pokemon Go Fest has been scheduled for the summer, and community dates have been scheduled all the way through August at least. You're going to get content through that, right? And Pokemon Go is making an absolute disgusting amount of money for Niantic and Nintendo. It's not going anywhere.
Now that I'm running 2 accounts, I'm spending pretty much twice the money.
That's typically how that would work.
Because I have to buy twice as many incubators and twice
there
as
you
many
go.
lucky eggs.
And that's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
Let's talk about what we've been playing.
Okay.
Justin, you're at the bottom of the list. We'll start with you. How about we save Yoshi and talk about it together?
Yeah. We'll do that one together.
Okay.
So I have been playing Hob, the definitive edition for full transparency. The PR firm reached out to us and gave us a copy, so that was fantastic. Hob is a environmental puzzle platformer that is light on combat, but heavy on the puzzle platforming part of it. an environmental puzzle platformer again. It is a beautiful art style, by the way. And this has been available on PlayStation 4 and PC earlier, and it was a port brought over by Panic Button. So we know them from doing such ports as Rocket League, and I think they helped with the Warframe port and Doom port. So they do a really great job of bringing kind of these big budget, big title games to the Switch and make them really optimized perfectly. It is absolutely fantastic. It's a ton of fun. It reminds me, Marty, was it Rhyme?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that. It's that idea. There isn't a lot of enemies. There are enemies and there are bosses that you have to fight, but they're not kind of like everywhere. It's more about how do I kind of solve this puzzle, move this thing from here to there. I pull this. I use my special weapon or my special arm to kind of move this switch, this lever to open up a new world. There are enemies in there, but it doesn't ever feel like there's too many enemies. Probably a little bit light on the enemies. You could have a bit more here and there, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful game. The one challenge I would say to it is that sometimes the direction or where they want you to go is a bit confusing because there is no audio cues, so there's no voiceover, which is fine. There's also no dialogue box. It is literally all done.
It's a minimalist game.
It's very minimalist. It's kind of shown like you have this kind of big ogre-ish kind, not ogre, but like this kind of partner who kind of like points you in a direction. Is like you have to go there, and that's all. Just a point. And you're like, oh, okay, I have to get there. I don't know how I get there. And then you have to kind of figure out, okay, where am I supposed to go to get there? So that can be a bit frustrating if you're probably maybe playing this with the kids and they're like, hey, I don't really know where I need to go. You may need to do a bit of, exploring, or maybe you may have to YouTube something potentially. I got to a point where I was like, I didn't really know what was going on. So I kind of had to keep exploring these couple areas to find out what was the one thing I was missing that I had to do. And then once I did that, I was able to very easily progress and move forward. It's a lot of fun though. The day we got it, I sat down and got escaped into it for about 2 to 2.5 hours. And just really, again, beautiful game, fantastic, art style, really good sound cues when they're there, easy controls. I'd highly recommend it if you're looking for a good environmental puzzler. Hob, the definitive edition. I think it's less than $20 on the eShop right now. This is also from the people who brought you Torchlight and Torchlight 2. If that rings a bell for anyone who are big into those games. So
looks like the normal price is $20, but it's on sale for $18.
Yeah. Sorry, there you go. It's on sale for a bit. So I would definitely recommend it. It's a great game to pick up for sure.
Awesome. So you've been having fun with it, obviously.
Yeah, I've definitely been having fun with it. It reminds
me
a little bit.
If you're on the fence, they can check out your video, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a video on our YouTube channel. You can check out that. It's about 20 minutes of the first play of it. I would definitely give it a shot. I do a little bit of talking over it for sure.
Cool. What about you, Jesse?
So I've only played one game. It was Bonds of the Skies. If that sounds familiar, we talked about it a few weeks ago, asking about its DLC strategy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that. So I actually have a thing typed up with talking points I want to do. So I won't get into everything, but basically it's a simple turn-based RPG, relatively short. I almost 100% of the game. I think I missed 2 quests in just shy of 14 hours. See some of the pluses I noted. There's a speed multiplier in battles. You can go 1 times, 2 times, or 3 times. So if you're doing a grinding session or just trying to getting through an easier dungeon, that you can spin through those battles relatively quick. If you lose a fight, it lets you restart it from where you started, reverting all your items and everything back to where it was at the start of the battle, and that saved me multiple times from losing an hour of play, having to go back to my last save. So that always helps. And once credits roll, there is post-game content that adds about an hour and a half more to complete the story. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch. Some of the things I didn't like about it. So while I enjoyed it, it's Also, I don't think it's a very good game. The game's got problems. Excuse me. First thing I noticed is you're running all the time. No way to slow it down to a walk, which normally that's not a bad thing, but sometimes you have these thin corridors that is one cell wide. That's hard to line yourself up to get in there if you're always running. So I wish there was a way to at least go to a walk from time to time. In the dungeons, there are areas that sparkle on the map showing where you can forage for items, gems, etc. for crafting. Sometimes there are between 3 and 5 items at that location, but every time you forage, you only get 1 item. So you just have to hammer on the A button. So after a time, I'm just hammering it, not even looking at what I picked up. So I'm like, I have no idea what I picked up. I just picked up everything. So it would be nice if you push it once and it would have given you a list. That would have been nice to see. About, halfway through Act 1, you get you have access to a boat, and you can see on the map certain docking points where you can get on and off the boat. Sometimes when you're at the dock, you still can't disembark. I don't know why. There was some docks I just couldn't use. I had to go to a different dock to disembark and then walk, or undock somewhere else and fast travel once I have that unlocked, which is another problem. If I'm on a boat and I want to use fast travel to get to a city that I've been, it ports me to the dock nearest that city, still on the boat. And if that's a dock that I can't disembark from, it doesn't help. So I still have to go somewhere else to disembark and then fast travel. Then this is a problem later on in the game. You start getting items and armor out of chests, where it just gives you the name of an item, but there's no description with it. It doesn't show the icon of it, so you don't know if it's a weapon or a shield or a armor or just something that's used for crafting. Yeah, you have to go into the items sub-menus and find it, and then determine who can use it and what. But if they just use the icon next to the name, then you'd be able to tell really quick. Oh yeah, Avi's armor is what this is. And so overall the game I thought was really easy. Most of the game I was able to use auto attack to just blaze through it. Even a lot of the mini bosses, like especially in the back third of the game, I was just auto attack through it and had little strategy. The first boss that gave me significant problems was probably the Act 1 boss. That one I had to start over a few times. So, I'll bring that to. From there, I'll go to the DLC discussion. So we talked about the DLC before. They had 4 optional purchases. For $5, you can add a double damage. I didn't have any problems with it. Some of the that Act 1 boss took a while, and then the final post game boss took a while. But those are the only two bosses where it would I thought would help. So it's not worth buying that just for the 2 bosses. For $4.99, you can get triple the experience. I finished the game at 96, and I think 99 is the cap. So if I had bought this, I would be max leveled midway Act 2. And then everything would just be boring. So don't buy that one. For $3.99, you can get full restore. I could see some slight use for it, but after a big battle, I would use my SP with my healers to heal, and even then, I never had mana problems because in a dungeon there'd be 2 or 3 health restore crystals that'll max everything up. So that one again not really needed. The last one, for $2, you can enable no encounters. And this one I would actually recommend buying if you're, starting the game from at the start. Because, say once you finish the Act 1, then you were in 3 previous dungeons. They start adding new quests and put more difficult creep monsters in those dungeons, but the trash in those dungeons is still the same trash you had the first time through. And now you're 40 levels higher, so you can one-hit everything to get almost no experience. It's just better if you can just shut them off. Like, I kind of wish I had that. But by the time I realized it, I'm like, oh, I'm almost done with the game. I'm not going to spend $2 now. But if I hadn't known this, I'd probably buy that from the start.
Jesse, let me ask you this question very blatantly. Would you recommend this game? Yes or no?
If you like RPGs, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Knowing it has problems, but for being as short as it is, the game does keep you moving. Actually, the one other problem that I had is, so in the dungeons, some of the tunnels have overpasses. Those overpasses look like solid walls. So it looks like you're walking through a wall to get to the other side, and then you can see what it's trying to do. If it had a little bit of a, more of a faux 3D effect, it might help. But so I spent a lot of my time walking into these cubbies that could be pass-throughs, but most of them weren't, in order to find where I needed to go. Okay. Then
cool.
But I eventually did beat the game. Got the credits roll. Went to the final post-credit boss. That one took me a while. It took me like 5 tries before I beat it. At that point, if you save the game and start again, it's like a new game plus. You'll start back at level 1 in the starting city. You'll just go through the story over again. But all the items you've previously collected, you still have, including all your weapons and armor. So you can just wreck house the second time through if you really want to. But why? Because it's really nothing. There's no. I don't think there's anything replayable here.
Sure.
But for as cheap as the game is, I think it was under $20 to buy the game the first time, or $20 at most. For 13 hours of play, sure, I'd give it a try if you like turn-based RPGs.
Nice, cool,
awesome.
Marty, you look like you've been busy.
Yeah,
should focus in on a couple things there.
Yeah, a couple of these I'm just going to mention very briefly. I picked up Crypt of the Necrodancer for Switch due to the Cadence of Hyrule announcement. I wanted to experience the first one just to see what it was going to be like. I think I really, and here's the deal: it's fun, but it's really difficult. So much so that I feel like that'll definitely be dialed back for Cadence of Hyrule. I don't think Nintendo would allow it to be that punishing. And it seems like Cadence of Hyrule actually has some story to it, whereas Crypt of the Necrodancer is just kind of roguelike, get as far down in the dungeon as you can type thing. But I really enjoy it. The soundtrack's good. I've really enjoyed that. I've also been playing Metagal from Redalika Games, and I've got a video of that over on our YouTube channel. It's Mega Man, except with girls. And it's really cool. It's also really hard. It's really difficult. Like I was embarrassed because in the video, like I get to the second boss or the first, like you're fighting your sisters. So like each of them has been turned into a weapon who has different powers. So there's like Shield Gal or Gal Shield and Gal Laser and stuff like that. And
so like Mega Man, but
it is, and all the levels are, you could start with whichever one you want. I started with the wrong one in the video and got to the end and could not beat the boss. So it's really fun. It kind of gives off more of a Mega Man X vibe than any of the others, but it's still a lot of fun.
Do you steal their weapons and you?
Yeah, you get their weapons and everything. So it's basically Mega Man except with girls. I've also been playing Mechtermination Force, which is the new game from the creator of Gunman Clive, and I'm happy to report it is excellent. If you're a fan of Contra 3 for the Super Nintendo, there's like those really epic boss fights in that game, and all the interchangeable weapons like most Contras, or a fan of Shadow of the Colossus, it's like these games came together. Because the only way I knew to describe it, like my son was asking me about it, and I was like, it's like Cuphead, because every stage is just a giant boss fight, and so what you're doing is you're blowing this armor off of robots so that you can then climb up them and strike at these sensors, and there's red sensors which can only be broken by this baseball bat you have, or yellow sensor switch can be shot and exploded, and a lot of the robots like end up transforming mid-fight, and so the patterns change. It's really hard, but it's so much fun. The controls are really tight and precise. It feels like it should be a Contra game, and I'd been watching this one for a while and was very excited about it. I'm so happy to have picked it up. It's $12 in the eShop. So if you're looking for like your Switch Contra fix, which may or may never come to Switch, then you need to check this out.
And if you haven't checked out Gunman Clive, by the way, it's a fantastic collection. Gunman Clive is I played on the 3DS, both of them, and just loved it. It's a great, unique game as well. So, Marty, I want a question here. Mecha Dragon 101 asks, which is better, Mighty Number 9 or Metagal?
Oh, Metagal.
Metagal. There you go.
I mean, I didn't even kickstart that game.
Yeah.
The only kickstarting that I will do for any Mighty Number 9 from now on is kickstarting a fire with what.
Well, they're not going to kill the 3DS until Mighty Number 9 finally lands on it.
It's never landing. They canceled it.
There's still games coming out for 3DS? What?
Apparently. Hey, Justin, why don't you talk to us a little bit about a game you and I have been playing, Yoshi's Crafted World?
Sure. Yeah, so Yoshi's Crafted World has obviously been the big game that was released last Friday. Big thanks to Nintendo for sending us a review copy for it as well. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. We'd obviously played the demo, right? I think we all played the demo here beforehand. But it is just a fantastic, we talk about playing games with our kids, easy access, enjoyment. This game has so much easy access and enjoyment for the kids. I love the art style, right? It's just adorable. Very much, like the Yoshi's Woolly World was back on either the 3DS or the Wii U. Very easily approachable. I love, again, the fact that I'm really happy that they've done here is the difference between mellow mode and regular mode. What do they call it? Mellow and regular, right? Again, the approachability, right? To say, there's been a big conversation right now about, just get good in games and should they have modes like this? I love the fact that, what Nintendo is saying here is you can play this whichever way you want. If you're a person who's maybe a bit more, you're a more experienced gamer, right? And you want to take that off, take mellow or not use mellow mode, and just take experience as it is, you can. Or if you're a new gamer, maybe you're a kid and you want to have that kind of experience where it's just, I want to play the game and not worry about deaths and not get frustrated, you have that mellow mode. I absolutely love that they're doing this for a lot of those games. They're so approachable with families. 2-player co-op is fantastic and easy to use. Like it's just a great game. And then I love how much depth there is to each level, right? So you can go in and you need to collect all your, flowers and red coins and hearts. And then you can go back and do the level backwards and collect all the Yoshi pups. And then you can also collect the cups and the cows that they want you to collect. Like there's so much in the levels that have you coming back. So if you're a completionist, there's a ton there. If you just want to sit down with your kids on the couch and bang out a couple levels together and just have a bit of fun and a bit of crack, that's fine too. Like it works so well. I'm also not going to say it's perfect. The music is a little bit gets a little bit grainy after time, but I mean that's being a little bit picky here.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm not going to fight with you about it, but I agree with you on that. Like, and I expected a little bit more, but yeah. I get what you're saying. You mentioned before the show, I think, that a lot of times when you're playing Switch, you play with the volume down. Like it's not even there. It's just, I feel like there's one main song or one main like track for Yoshi's Crafted World, and everything else is a variant on it.
Yeah. It's just kind of a loop, basically, right? And
it doesn't really even go anywhere. Like it's kind of like the game. Like, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but the game is kind of meandering, right? It's a relaxing game, but the music just kind of wanders along. It doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, the game really encourages you to enjoy the scenery, right? Take a look around. Don't be in a hurry. Oh, you ran out of eggs? Go back and get some more eggs and come back, right? And I guess the way that it's really the way you put it there, Marty, is the meanderingness of it, right? There's no urgency. There's no like do 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 do, you know, the urgency of music. There's no pressure to play. It is a perfect sit on the couch. You know, maybe your you know, your significant other is watching some garbage TV, right? Whatever it is, and you're, you know, in the room and you want to just chill with them and kind of sort of watch, but not really. And you just want to relax and just kind of be in and out. It's just that kind of, it's, you know what? It's a great palate cleanser.
Yeah.
It's a great palate cleanser. And I don't mean that in a rude way, but I think it's a great palate cleanser for some of the other, you know, like, oh, I'm playing Fortnite. Oh, I'm going to play Cuphead. Like those kind of intense, really kind of, you know, your palms are sweaty, you know, mom's spaghetti all over your shirt. You threw up, whatever it is. You're a bit worried. You know, this is just a nice palate cleanser.
I think that
difficulty of Tropical Freeze, right? This is just and again.
Yeah.
And like I've came home and from work, and each time like my daughter's sitting laying on the couch and she's got the Switch in her hands, and what's she playing? She's playing Yoshi. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that like you look at these games, nobody is really like standing in line for Yoshi games. You know what I mean? Like it's not, again, they're not bad, but it's not like the most highly anticipated Switch release in the world. Yoshi games are kind of like going home, like after being away a while, like going back to your parents' house after being away a while. Like it's fun to be there. It's good to be there. It feels familiar, but you don't want to stay. And so you take it in like little sections. Like, you know, you take it in a little bit at a time. Like I can't play this game for long periods of time because I start kind of getting drowsy. Because there's not a whole lot of action. But then there's like every now and then, especially in the later parts of the game, I haven't finished it yet, but I feel like I'm getting up there, where they just take that meandering and they throw it out the window, and it's like, hey, get chased by a giant T-Rex made out of bones.
Right.
Or, hey, ride this plane or ride this train for no reason at all. Oh, and by the way, you can't go back if you miss anything. Yeah. And that's kind of jarring.
Yeah, and that's sometimes something that we see traditionally happens with, I would even argue that Kirby games do this also, right? Where you're kind of like, it's again that meandering, that comfort of kind of getting there. And right around the final act, it takes a real steep learning curve, right? And it kind of gets dark or gets intense real fast. And so Yoshi's Woolly World was like that too. And I suspect what we're seeing from Yoshi's Crafted World as well. So I also love the fact there's like those little collectibles you can get, you know. So like the kids love those, you know, like that's just, it is like, if you're like, I don't think there's any games to play with my kid on the Nintendo Switch, like you don't need to look further than this game. This is such a fantastic game. And from being an experienced player, I love playing it, and just being sitting with the kids, and I love playing it. I saw this adorable video. I can't remember who posted it. We put it on our Twitter page, and it was like, this guy's like, I became dad of the year in like a millisecond. And they were 2-player co-oping, and I think they had to make a big jump. And so the daughter was riding on the dad's back as Yoshi jumps off, and then she jumps off of his back and is falling the opposite way. And he turned and like came down at her and actually like grabbed her in his mouth, and she became an egg. And it was like the split-second save. And I was like, that was like, and again, it's a Yoshi game. Like, let's be honest, like you didn't just corrupt your save file or anything like that. But it was just like, I have to save my daughter in this Yoshi game who's falling, but I did it. It was just like this amazing like parent moment. I was like, well done to you. Well done to you. And that's playing together. So, and
I think this is one of those that if you are like me and you are a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to games, so playing games like New Super Mario Brothers U with your kids is a exercise in frustration because you're constantly getting thrown off edges or bumped or stomped on or whatever. This is a great change of pace, right? Yeah. This is a great change of pace, and one that I would definitely recommend to parents with a Switch. I mean, a cute little dinosaur living in a cardboard world. What more can you ask for, right? It's definitely a treat. Don't know that it should have been $59.99.
I disagree with you. I disagree. I'm
still not there, so I haven't seen the extent of the content there.
Well, I'm more challenged when we say price value for games, right? When we say that, you know, I don't believe this is a bargain bin release. I don't believe they didn't put time and effort into it. I don't believe they like this, and this isn't a port, right? Which people are like, oh, I don't want to pay for a port.
Right.
This is part of Nintendo's mainstream headline games, right? And this is the same argument we heard about Kirby. So now what you're asking for is, are you asking for where? And here's the thing: is we're not going to have a conversation here because we're running long anyways. I don't want to have a long conversation about this, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to have a real chat, a genuine chat about where is value versus dollar versus content,
right?
From an organizational perspective. I believe it's worth its money.
No, I guess my point, and I know we need to be brief and move on, but I guess my point was really that, like, it came out this week that the composer left Good Smile, and there wasn't as many. There was like a fifth of the music tracks that were in Yoshi's Woolly World, and it just seemed like maybe this game was something else, and then it morphed into what it is. And there was some kind of delay in getting it because we initially saw it really early, and then we didn't see it at all, and then it did get delayed.
Wasn't it like
I don't know. I'm not
ago,
saying
E3?
that means it shouldn't be $60. I'm just saying that here's what I am saying. For parents who have young kids, that Nintendo, it might have sold more, or it might sell more over time if this was a $50 game instead of a $60 game. That's all I'm saying, and I'll leave it at that. I think it's worth, like, I think it's a good game. I just don't, Sushi Strikers was $49.99, and it probably had way more. It probably had way more hours than you'll put into this game.
I think if that one was $60, people would be more upset because it was also in 3DS for $40. So
yeah,
they had that bar to balance as well.
Okay. Look, before Justin blows a gasket over there, let's move on.
Yeah, no. Here's what I'll say. I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think we have the time to have it today, but I do think it's interesting, and I think we're all allowed to have our opinions on it. I think it's worth the time. That's my opinion, though. So.
Yeah, Tim says it'll eventually be the $20 Nintendo Selects games for sure. Yeah. It'll just probably be 2 years before we see that.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. If you're on the fence about this too, this may be a game that would go on sale. Like Nintendo may offer a sale price at some point on it, right? Very rarely, but they may. So it's something to think about. Maybe put on your wish list. Games that are on wish lists are great to buy.
Yeah, they sure are, aren't they? Let's get into our community spotlight for the evening, shall we?
Okay.
And that sound means that it's time to read your tweets, your questions, your comments. And we actually have a voicemail this week. Is that right, Jesse?
Yeah, it's more of a voice comment than a question, but it was an email, an audio file emailed to us. So this didn't come in through our voicemail line. And it's short and to the point.
Breath of the Wild in VR. I'm sold.
I love it. I feel the same way.
Bruce Patterson, our Canuck as well. Yeah, well done, Bruce. Bruce, I now challenge you. Once you get your VR kit in Breath of the Wild, I want to hear your voicemail back to us as well.
Yeah, if it sounds like that, then we know he's having a good time, right?
Love it. Yep.
Thanks for calling in. We appreciate that. Justin, why don't you read a couple more of these, and we'll answer them.
Absolutely. So Happy Kennard writes, it's great there's a lot of content on the Switch, but as you've said on the show, the eShop has a lot of garbage. What's your strategy for wading through the garbage to find truly worthwhile titles? I would say this. I very rarely go to the eShop not knowing what I'm looking for, if that makes sense. And I use the search function a lot. I also kind of use the sales current sales area to look into a fair bit. A great example is like yesterday, I read somewhere that Enter the Gungeon was going on sale very soon. And actually thought it was on sale already. And so I just went to the search and typed in Enter the Gungeon. So again, when I go to the eShop, I typically know what I'm looking for, right? The other thing that I do when I go to the eShop is interesting enough, like on the Thursdays when the eShop updates, I will take a look and go into the coming soon section, and I will scroll through that. And then if something looks interesting to me as I kind of peek in, you watch the videos, read the summary, I may actually add that to my wish list as something to know that like later to come back to. So it's kind of this weird like bookmarking methodology I use, but that's one of the ways that I do it. But again, you're right. There's a lot on there. And it's very hard to kind of wade through. It's kind of, that's my approach at least. So I don't know. What do you?
I think that there, like when the directs happen or the Nindy showcase, there are games that I will definitely pinpoint and I will just like say, okay, when I see this game again, I want it. Right. Mm-hmm. And then there's some games that I'm just going to skip. Like, I hate to say this because it's judging a book by its cover, but there is definitely an art style that I look for in the eShop, and I go, okay, yeah, I'm not buying that. That game looks like crap. However, there are a lot of games that I will go in, and I'm glad they provide the extra screenshots and like the video footage of, because there's been a couple of times I've been on the verge of buying a game and gone in and played the video and went, okay, no, that's not for me, right? But for the most part, I'm like you. I go in knowing what I want. Like I know which publishers to trust. Occasionally, I may venture out. In fact, since I've had my Switch, out of all the games that I've bought, and I'm not talking about games that we've been given codes for, and this does not mean that we've been given a bunch of crap game codes. Okay, that's not what I mean by saying this. But out of all the games that I've bought, there's only one game that I regret paying money for.
What game is that?
It was called, oh my gosh, it was like Gun Tower or something like that.
No, wait, that's mine.
Oh, that's mine too. It's like a tower defense game, but it's crap. It's terrible. Yeah. And I bought it because of the art style, and I bought it on a whim, and I wish I'd never bought it. It's bad.
This actually kind of falls a little bit in line with another question that actually Mecha Dragon just asked on Twitter as well, and says, what's your guys' opinions of games on the eShop whose screenshots or videos don't represent the final game? There's a driving game in the eShop at the moment that's being subjected to that. If it doesn't represent the true game, I think that's definitely an issue, or represent the final game. Like if it's false advertising, that's a huge complaint I would have about it. But I think the challenge that a video game publisher has right now is they have to, they have 4 shots and a video to basically try and sell us if we weren't aware of it as well. So,
yeah.
I kind of cheat a little bit because I have access to the weekly download press releases. So I scan that to see if there's anything of interest. And then I also do what Justin's mentioned. I'll log into eShop every week, look at the recent releases, see if anything sounds interesting. I'll check the future release games to see if there's anything coming that I would be interested in. And I keep track of a future release games list, which anything showing up on a Nintendo Direct gets added there. Any other games that I'm interested in gets added there, including games I see from news articles, games I see from the future release list. So that also helps me keep organized of games that I may or may not be interested in.
Yeah. There you go.
So that list is more for show purposes versus the purpose of doing what we're talking about, but it helps.
Yeah, hopefully happy that provides some level of degree of support. Antonio writes, one of the dads posted an image on Instagram of their Switch that highlighted their purchase in high regards of Hobbs. That was me. And recently other platformers like Yooka-Laylee and Fee have had success on the Switch. What are your favorite 3D platformers on your beloved console and why? So I would actually say, I had to go through my console to double check here. A couple of them that stand out for me is Fee or Faye, and then Mulaka as well, actually, which was from an indie studio. Faye or Fee, however you want to say it. I love the art style of it. I love the environmental. The sound composition was fantastic. It was very immersive. I just kind of loved the kind of risk that they took with that game in a lot of ways, and I thought that was really, really cool. And Mulaka struck me because it was very polygonal. It just, and that's probably the wrong word, but it just reminded me of like playing an N64. Polygonal, thank you. It reminded me of playing like an N64 at times. I think it tackled content. It was, Mexican ancestry and heritage that I didn't know anything about, and kind of the mythos around that. And it really tackled it in a very cool way, and felt very educational but enjoyable at the same time. And I know that they were very, when they built that game, it was very true to the source material, and they wanted to kind of celebrate their ancestry and history. And I thought it was a very cool approach as well. So I kind of usually like games in those 3D, ones that or 3D platformers that kind of give you that approach and that look to it as well. So, or give you a little bit more than usual. Another one, if you're just kind of looking for one that is kind of fun, that I'd recommend is, I'm just scrolling through it here. Away, A Journey to the Unexpected. That's a good one as well. Very kind of cool 3D platformer. But those are some ones. But those are just the ones that I like. Guys, anyone else?
For me, this is going to be kind of cheesy or trite, I guess. Mario Odyssey, I mean, is still a huge one for me. I still go back and play that very often. Like I love that game. I know that there were differing opinions about it, but I think it's probably one of my favorite Mario games. Simply because it wasn't afraid to get out of the box, in a lot of ways. With that, I don't know. I haven't played a whole lot of 3D platformers on this console.
He just plays Mega Man games, folks. That's all he plays.
No, I don't just play Mega Man games. I play a lot of 2D games. I don't know. Let me think for just a minute. I'm thinking about what else is out there.
Okay. Well, you do that, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm probably not one to ask because, in general, I don't like 3D platformers. I like the Mario games, and most of them, the other games that I get frustrated with. So that's kind of one of the. If I see 3D platformers, it's normally a red flag for me to avoid it.
Fair enough.
But that's just me. It's not anything against the game. It's just that's what I like or don't like.
Yeah. You know what? I am going to throw this one out here, and I don't know that it's an actual platformer per se. I've got two. I've actually got two. One that my son bought a game for his Switch quite a few months ago that's gotten some updates and has been pretty popular. I really love playing it with him. It's called Human Fall Flat. Mm-hmm. And it's a, like, you play as this, like, kind of claymation looking guy, right? And the whole idea of it is to make it through the levels. And they have just like ridiculous ragdoll physics and everything else. And like, you're trying to like climb walls and position platforms and everything to get from point A to point B. And like, I really, really have enjoyed playing that with him. It may be just that I enjoy playing it with him, but I think it's actually a pretty good game. And, there at the very beginning, Snake Pass was pretty good too.
It was, yeah. Actually, my daughter has been playing Snake Pass a lot lately.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Snake Pass there for the time, back when we actually didn't have many games on the Switch.
Yeah, we weren't buried with them.
Yeah, we weren't buried in games. It's a very unique concept for a game. The controls didn't come out like I wanted them to, or weren't as smooth as I wanted them to, and so for me, it kind of just fell a little flat, I guess. But
sure,
I think it's definitely charming, and it's worth your time if you want to delve into that kind of 3D platforming thing.
Nice. All right. Zach had asked, how was Mexico? You kind of covered a little bit of that at the beginning. Hey, Marty?
Mexico was good. I'm not dead. Centipedes didn't get me.
There you go. Awesome.
I did find out
did Montezuma get you? Anybody?
No, Montezuma did not get me. Nice. I did find my new favorite soda in the world down there, which is called a Hoya. It looks like Joya. It's a Hoya, and it's apple flavored.
Oh.
It's kind of like Fanta. Do you know what Fanta is?
Oh, yeah. It's huge over here.
So it's kind of like Fanta, except it's not like this apple is not. I mean, they've got different flavors. They've got like a fruit punch and a tamarind and an apple, and the apple is not so like sugary sweet as like a green apple Fanta, right? That it doesn't. It's more like carbonated apple juice.
First time I ever had Fanta was actually when we came over here.
Really?
Yeah, Fanta's not unless it's changed in Canada. I just never noticed. It was never a huge thing in Canada. So, but yeah, Fanta here is kind of the drink, especially orange Fanta is fantastic. Pineapple Fanta is a thing that we have here also.
I love pineapple.
Enjoys that with a little bit of a little bit of adult beverage, like a little bit of rum, and you have got yourself a happy wife. The next statement, the last question we're going to take for the night is from Mecha Dragon. What are some video game conventions any of you guys want to attend? So I'll maybe kick this one off. I've been fortunate enough to attend EGX several times over here. And in last year in August, I was really, really fortunate enough to go to Gamescom over in Germany, which for me was actually like a personal, like off the bucket list event, which was absolutely amazing. What would I like to attend? I would love to attend either PAX East or West. And I think E3 is an easy one to say I'd like to attend. I don't know if I want to attend E3 because then I think you've done it. Do you know what I mean? Like you've done that thing, and also I think E3 is changing a little bit more. I think maybe I wanted to attend E3 2 years ago, if that makes sense. I think it's changing the way it's running. But PAX East or PAX West would definitely be one. I think if we ever move back to Canada, that's going to be something that I'd like to try and do. PAX West is not too far. Well, everything's relative, but not too far off from where we live in Alberta. So.
Yeah, that's the problem I have from living in Kansas is I am nowhere near anything. So, you know, I'd like to go to a PAX sometime. Probably PAX South is the closest one to me. I don't know what time of the year they normally run, but I'd like to hit another E3. But, you know, E3 has more work than pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say PAX South.
Yeah.
PAX South or PAX East. I think that's really I think it's interesting what we're seeing right now in conventions for gaming. It's shifting a little. It's shifting more and more. You know, the shift has kind of been there for the last few years.
Yeah.
But PAX has kind of like E3 it still may stick around, but I don't think it's always going to be as big as it is now.
Yeah. This is the last year it'll be at the LA Convention Center after being there for 10-ish, maybe a little more years. And I don't know if they have a site allocated for what 2020 will look like. Or maybe 2020 is the last year. We don't know what 2021 looks like yet. So, yeah, I think what E3 will look like in the next few years will change, and we just don't know what that looks like yet.
Yeah.
I think things started going downhill when they started selling public tickets.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Over here in the EU, E3's equivalent is Gamescom. And then PAX's equivalent is the EGX shows. And here they do EGX every about 6 months. And as a matter of fact, so there's one in September. And as a matter of fact, this week is EGX Rezzed. And Rezzed is really a lot of time spent on indie games and indie development stuff. So very much like PAX. And actually, I believe the company that owns PAX recently bought EGX. So I think that they're kind of overlapping. But I will use this moment to promote the fact that, as I mentioned earlier, Gary Gray and Paul Lloyd are actually at EGX Res. They were there yesterday. They're going to be there today as well. They're on the floor speaking with developers, getting hands-on with games, doing footage, capturing games footage, meeting actually some of the Nintendo fans and personalities in the area that we've got to know and have relationships with and become friends with, and just promoting the Nintendo Dad's goodness. They're going to have videos up on our YouTube channel, and they're doing a podcast, kind of micro short podcast as well. So keep tuned in for a lot of content you're going to see from these guys in the coming days as well.
And that'd be really cool.
Tim says we should all get together and do a panel at PAX sometime.
Yeah, I'd love
that. I would love that. It's like maybe the first time we all actually meet in the flesh together. That would be
I think if I was talking about I would rather us do an event like PAX than I would E3. To be completely honest, I think that's better.
I think the dynamic is shifted. That PAX is more for the fan and E3 is more for the industry.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think what you were saying about where they started to lose momentum. I think they also started to lose momentum when conventions like Gamescom and others began to have more high-profile announcements. Yep. And began to be covered more as like, hey, this is not just Germany E3, or this is not just European E3, where they're going to announce the same things. Information is global now. So,
and having been to Gamescom, that is exactly the experience that you get. Like it is absolutely it is their E3, right? And you have all the major outlets there. IGN is there, like they're there. They've got their staff there. They're covering it. You know, like it's massive. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah. All right. So, Justin, I guess it's time for us to address this elephant in the room, right? Be a good time here for the community spotlight. So, if you'll recall, a few months ago, toward the end of 2018, I and Mr. Justin Massa made a bet. And the bet was that Yoshi's Crafted World, being made of cardboard and goodness in the game, would have a Labo something that would go along with it. If it did, then Justin would buy me a game. If it didn't, I would buy him a game. Well, Crafted World is here, and it does not have Labo. I don't understand why. I think they're missing the point. I think they could have done something with the Yoshi amiibo and something Labo and had it been kind of special and kind of interactive. But I do owe you a game, and fair and square, you know, I lost the bet. That's the way it is. I just checked our Twitter feed right before this, and it is sitting at 35% both for Sonic Mania or Okami HD. And so here's what I will do. All right. I will let you choose either of those.
So here's what I think, Marty.
You can't choose both.
I believe that. Here's what I think. in honor of you and the games that you have enjoyed and the games that you have promoted and highlighted and kind of been an advocate for, this is very much I want to experience the Marty experience and the hype and see things through Marty's eyes. So I think, mark this down, people, because you will never hear me probably say this again. Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
Because
that's a very solid choice.
I know you were very much on that game. You loved that game, and okay. Like you guys were all. I was like, you're wrong, you're crazy, you're ridiculous. So I think I will go for Sonic Mania, and I will do a Let's Play of me playing Sonic Mania and give my impressions of the game.
In the chat, it was asked, the Yoshi riding in the Labo costume, did that count? I replied, no. It was declared that it does not count. They meant for our real-life Labo pieces to be playable.
Yeah, I was thinking that they would
like
do
Mario,
at least
like Mario Kart, like Mario Kart using the steering wheel.
Yeah.
That counts.
Yeah.
Though, what if they change it and add VR? Will that? We don't know.
That's yet to be. At the time of release, there was no Labo kit. That's what I'm calling.
There you go.
I'm not gonna go back and make him buy me a game in 3 months if they add something to it. That's silly.
Yeah.
So I owe you Sonic Mania. You will have fun with it. I promise. It'll be good. This is my concession speech. I lost. You suck.
Fair enough.
Never doing it again.
I love it. All right. Just before we round out, I want to bring something to people's attention. I know that you got some more commentary here as well. If you get an opportunity, I want to do a couple little quick shout outs if you would. If you are interested, I was recently on Switch Island podcast with those gentlemen over there, and I was on their Desert Island cartridge episode. That episode is now available to download if you want. It's basically the idea of you're on a desert island, what game do you take with you? So it's a fantastic opportunity. Got to sit down with Ben and Danny. Also, big shout out to Danny Ward, who is one of the folks over at Switch Island who became a Nintendo dad recently this week as well. So congratulations to him. And I've had an opportunity to meet him at EGX and spend some time with him. He's a great guy as well. So we greatly appreciate that, and congratulations to him and his family. That is all that I have. Marty, why don't you figure out how you take us out?
Figure out how to take us out. Like, I don't remember how to do this. Oh,
we have a new element to throw in there. I highlighted it for you just in case you didn't
Oh
see
yeah,
it.
I love that. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to Nintendo Dads episode 224. We hope you've enjoyed it. We want to say a huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Chris Mears, John Blanco, Dave Ernsberger, and Timothy Off. And we want to announce, hey, we're now available on Spotify. And so if you've been downloading us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, or anything like that, and you would rather listen on Spotify, head on over there right now and look us up on the Spotify machine. And guess what? There we are. You can also head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Dads to support us, even for as little as $1 a month. It will get you access to our Discord server and lots more goodies if you're willing and able to pay just a little bit more. You can follow us on all our social media at Nintendo Dads. That's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us at nintendodads@gmail.com. Watch our videos on Twitch and YouTube. Call in and leave a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS or 929-256-3237. And you can score yourself some sweet Nintendo Dads merchandise by heading over to tiny.cc/Nintendo Dads store, all lowercase. It'll change your life. I promise. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music used throughout the show, and Adam Leonard and Carter Johnson for always providing our sweet, sweet artwork. For me, for Jesse, for Justin, this has been episode 224. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.